This is episode 57. Today, we're going to be talking about getting to your first $10,000, particularly without using an investor, right? To get to that $10,000 mark, you don't need 1,000 followers, 10,000, 100,000 followers. You don't need an investor. You don't need to go viral. What you need is an actual product or service that solves a problem. And then you need to get it out there to people, right? You need to get it in front of people. Typically, that's some kind of advertisement. The reason I say you don't need an investor is because you can do your own ads, right? And for very cheap, you can spend $1 a day on Facebook if you would like, right? So just because we're not getting an investor doesn't mean that we don't need to put up some of our own money. But my point is, it's really not that difficult to get something out there to the market, right? You need to have a place to sell it at, and then you need to run ads to get them to go to that. You need to text, email, call them, all that kind of good stuff to make sales. None of what I just discussed has anything to do with needing an investor. It doesn't have anything to do with going viral. It doesn't have anything to do with needing a bunch of followers. It is simply, does my product or service work? Are people going to buy it in the market? I need to get it into the market to see if people will buy it. I see so many people nowadays talking about trying to go viral with their business. And of course, we all want to go viral with our business, right? But it's not a formula. It's not something you can count on. What you can count on is ads. You can count on referrals. There's certain things you can actually count on that are tangible that you can do and repeat over and over. Going viral is not one of them. You can make a ton of content and some of it might go viral, but you never know. And so it's not easy to plan a business on, wow, 1 month we went viral and we sold 10,000 of this product. And then next month we sold 10 because we don't advertise. All we do is wait to go viral, and we didn't go viral this month. That's no way to run a business, right? So I always say going viral is great, and we should try to do that. We should be putting out as much content for our company as possible. And we hope that that happens, but that's what it needs to be, is a hope. We need to do everything we can to get it to happen, but you're really just hoping, as opposed to when you're actually advertising or you're making phone calls or you're sending out emails or whatever it is. That's a sure thing. And that's something that can be measured, and that's something that can be scaled. So, I wouldn't count on going viral, right, as a business strategy. In my opinion, that's a terrible position to be in, to say, well, if one of my posts just goes viral, then, we'll get a lot of business. Because as I said, let's say best case scenario, that does happen. Next month, what happens to your sales? And the next month, and the next month. And anybody that's in, online, social media, marketing, advertising, or content influencers, they'll all tell you it is not easy to get multiple things to go viral. And so we don't want to put that as part of our plan. That's an extra, right? That's a freebie. We want to put out content because some of it may go viral, and we need to just treat that as bonuses. But we need to build our business on something that's consistent, reliable, scalable, and something that we can do that's in our control, that's not relying on algorithms of the social media platforms for us to make enough sales to pay our bills. That's a bad position to be in, right? So we don't want to put ourselves there. But making your first 10K, we want to try to make it look, easy. So we're talking about 10 clients at $1,000 if your product or service is, $1,000, obviously. I think it's much more likely that you'll get something like 20 clients for $500. That's a little bit more like it for a new business. I always talk about how the price point should be pretty low when you're first trying to figure out if somebody's going to purchase it or not. So I realize some people out there, your business may be like, even if it's a consulting business or something, you might be charging 1,000, 2,000 or whatever. And then obviously you don't need as many clients. But typically the way to, get enough clients and get enough movement to get there is going to be with smaller price points, right? So it's not necessarily about volume, it's about positioning. And if you're positioning your product or service right at the right price, then people will buy it. And it won't be too hard to get to that 10K, right? Well, it's extremely difficult. Let me rephrase that. It's extremely difficult to get there, but it's absolutely possible, right? But from going from no business to 10,000 may seem impossible at first, but it's definitely doable if we're relying on things that we can actually, we can actually count on, and that we can, you know, scale up, right? And when we're doing this, we need an actual plan, right? We need a specific plan, because specific is sellable, right? It can't just be a throwing things into the wind. Hopefully some of this content goes viral. Hopefully, these customers buy this. Hopefully some of my family members, do this or whatever. And that's great. But again, those things should be above and beyond. We need a specific plan of things that are in our control that we can do on a daily basis to make our company make that revenue. We don't want to be in that position where we're waiting on someone else or something else to magically happen. We want to be in control of the situation. And so we want to have a specific plan to do that. Now, some of the business motivation coaches and whatnot that I listen to definitely have some great insight. And I encourage you to follow on social media everybody that you can, all the business, influencers and stuff like that, motivational speakers and whatnot. And some of them talk a lot about direct outreach. And that's exactly what I'm talking about here. Making sure that every day you're, DMing, 50 people, calling 50 people, emailing, whatever it is, but having that daily list of, okay, these are things that I need to do, and actually following up on them. But when we're talking about these things, we're talking about direct outreach. So just like I was talking about advertising, that's direct advertising, right? Through Meta or whatever platform you're using, advertising directly to the client, capturing their information, putting them in the CRM, right? Automatically contacting them, all that kind of good stuff. And then outreach is direct to the person as well. So I'm not talking about, again, more social media posts or whatnot. I'm talking about directly reaching out to potential clients, whether that's through DMs or emails or whatever it is, to try to get their business. And I think some people send a couple out or make a couple calls and then they end up just kind of giving up. But you would be amazed at what can happen of the compounding effect of, reaching out to 50 new people a day. And again, it might not happen the first week, 2 weeks, might not even happen in the first month, but you're eventually going to see the results of that. And that's going to be a lot better than just, sitting around waiting and hoping that, maybe something goes viral or whatever the situation is. And, a big part of this structure is knowing what you can and can't do. So if you have $0, absolutely no money for ads, then this is the way you need to be focusing on. You need to be focusing on content to try to get some views. Again, you can't count on it to go viral, but you want it to. So if you have $0 for ads, you need to be making content and you need to be directly reaching out to people, even more so, right? If you have money to run ads, run the ads and then still reach out to people and make content and all that stuff. But the point is that if you have no money for ads, you have to really focus. 100% of your focus should be on just reaching out to people, right? Making content as well, because that can pick up and get you some business, but definitely reaching out to people. So it's even more important if you don't have any ad money. If you do have ad money, I would still do that, right? And just compound the effect of what you're doing. One of the things that we don't talk about as much here on Founding Without Funding is upselling. So I wanted to talk about upselling today and how that can really improve your business. So nowadays, there's a lot of freemium business models where everything is an upgrade, right? Anytime they make money, that was an upsell, that was an upgrade, because they bring people into the system for free. That's a great business model. Some of you may have that. I have that in some businesses. Definitely a great thing to have. But even if you're transacting regularly, not freemium model, there's typically upsells that you can do. And you want to find the right time in the process, in the sales process, the right time in delivering the product process to be able to offer them these upsells and add-ons but these can be very profitable. A lot of the times you want to make these things that cost you nothing or close to nothing, right? You want to make it so that this is above and beyond, but hopefully it's basically all profit to you. And that is just changes the game. When you go from transacting regularly on your regular margins to some people just paying an extra, let's say it's an extra $100 upsell, but it doesn't actually cost you any hard costs. There's $100 profit right to the bank. That can make the biggest difference in the world, because maybe you're selling a $200 product and your margin on the product is only $50 after your cost of customer acquisition and all that kind of stuff. But you can upsell some of them and all of a sudden you got $100 in actual straight profit. That can absolutely change the game for a business. So upsells are definitely something great. Definitely important if you're in a business where they're kind of standard or other companies are doing them. You want to make sure that you're doing that, because it can generate a nice amount of profit, which again is always better when it's profit on top of whatever your regular, margin is of making the regular sales. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and open it up to questions here. So remember, you can drop any questions you have in the chat there live. We are live streaming on all the different platforms. You can also send them to my DM at Kyle Hiersche or at Founding Without Funding. I do have some questions that some people sent in here, but feel free to drop questions there live. Also, remember, if you are looking to start or grow your business and you want help with that, go to foundingwithoutfunding.com to get the book, and that can walk you through a lot of the steps. If you would like to be a little bit more hands-off and have somebody else kind of build the business for you, you can actually have our team do that for you at yourdigitalbusinesspartner.com. We can set up your LLC, logo, website, social media, run your social media ads, all that kind of good stuff for you at yourdigitalbusinesspartner.com. So if you want to start and grow your business yourself, go to foundingwithoutfunding.com, get the book that will help you. And if you would like to be a little more hands-off and have my team do that for you, you can go to yourdigitalbusinesspartner.com. And I always like to plug, if you would like to join my team as a loan officer, our team does have the best rates, the most outlets, and the best compensation. If you are licensed already, you can join right away. If you're not a licensed loan officer, we can actually help you get licensed and walk you through the process and then bring you on board. So if you're looking to join a great industry, or if you're already in the industry and you want to join a great team as a loan officer, go to newmlo.com. That's newmlo.com, and you can join our team there. All right, let's go ahead and get into the questions. So Ethan is asking, what if I don't have a skill set yet? Well, I think everybody has a skill set, right? Maybe your skill set is being a people person, and that's it. But you don't have a skill set necessarily to an industry or something. Let me tell you, that's all you need to get ahead, right? If your skill set is sales, you're golden. That's the best skill set to have. If your skill set is just being good with people, that's also another great skill set to have. So I think everybody, sometimes your skill set is just your personality. And then just a matter of you applying that personality to business. But typically you don't really need some very specific skill set to start and grow your business. So I wouldn't worry about that, Ethan. I would focus on, maybe hone in on what your skill set is, but it may just be part of your personality. And that, personality and the way people talk to people and manage people is a huge part of running a business. Okay, Kayla's asking, how do I pick the right niche? Well, that's tough. For me, I always say to pick the right business as far as what's going to sell and what's selling, right? Don't follow your passion necessarily, follow your efforts. And that may sound strange, especially from, a podcast where we're talking about following your dreams, founding your own businesses. But I would recommend that you're following the money. You're following what you're good at, right? As opposed to maybe what you're passionate about. Now, it's always great to follow your passion, but, typically it's better to make money and to feed your family. And you're going to be passionate about something that allows you to feed your family. I always give this example. I was never passionate about real estate until I got my real estate license, and then I got my mortgage license, and then I owned a real estate brokerage, and then I owned a national mortgage company with 400 employees. I didn't think that I would be passionate about mortgages, but by the time I got to that point and I'm running and owning a mortgage company with 400 employees and I've learned everything you could possibly learn about mortgages and real estate, I was passionate about it. It was something that I knew well. It was something I was making a lot of money from. So it's something that I grew passionate about. But as a kid growing up and even as a young adult, even right before I got my real estate license, I would have told you I'm not interested in real estate at all. I mean, I was a real estate investor and I was buying some properties, but I had no interest in being a realtor or a loan officer or owning a real estate brokerage or owning a mortgage company. And those things just kind of happened. And again, when you're making money from it, when you're learning and growing and you get good at it, you're going to get passionate about it. Right. So, I know some people always say like, follow your passion, but in my opinion, I think it's more so like follow what you're good at, follow your efforts, and follow what's going to work, because you're going to be passionate about anything that is working that you came up with, right? We're always passionate about, as entrepreneurs, we're passionate about anything that we came up with. And so it doesn't have to be like the industry that you're super passionate about. It doesn't matter what industry it is. You're passionate about it because it's your company that you created out of thin air and are building. And then if you start making money with that, you're going to be even more passionate about it. All right. Darren's asking, what if I'm scared to cold DM? I wouldn't be scared to cold direct message people because you're not even calling them. I think, obviously I understand people being scared to cold call people, but when you're just sending a message on, Instagram or whatever, I don't think you should have any fear of that. You don't even have to be face to face with them. Most of them will never reply. If they do reply, perfect, then it worked. If they don't reply, they ignored you. So definitely nobody should be scared of sending cold DMs and cold emails. But I understand some people are scared of doing cold calls, but you should be able to do everything else. Sophie's asking, should I charge less for my first clients? I just always recommend having a low price point at first to see if people are going to do it, right? To see if people are going to purchase it at all, especially if it's a new product or service. So I wouldn't necessarily say you're lowering it for your first clients, but I would just keep a low price point at first. For the tracking of it, for the data, and to make sure that if somebody was going to buy it, they'll buy it for that price. And then you can start, raising the price from there. All right. And Marcus is asking, how long should it take to hit 10K? Oh, that varies so much. I mean, there's businesses that'll go 2 years without hitting that. And then all of a sudden they're killing it. Right. And some people make it in their first month or two. So it really depends on the type of business and then just kind of the path that you're on. So there's really no wrong answer to that. Okay, let's see here. Ryan's asking, what if people ghost me after showing interest? Well, that's just part of the game. We want follow-up systems, right? So we want to be following up with email campaigns and we want to keep following up with that person, especially if we paid for an ad to get them to opt in. We don't want to waste that contact info. But some are going to do it and some are going to not, right? Some are going to pull the trigger. Some are not going to. And so you just have to chop that up to part of the game, right? That's it. Just some people are going to ghost you. That wasn't the right person. Now we're still going to follow up via email and keep in touch and stuff, and keep trying to prompt them to do something. But that's just what's going to happen. Some people will ghost you. Some people do, some people don't. All you got to do is make sure that you keep getting more people. Let's see here. Noah's asking, what's the fastest high ticket skill to learn? I'm not sure, but a great skill to learn, especially right now, is being a loan officer, right? Again, if you're not licensed, you go to newmlo.com and we can help you actually get your license and join an industry where its rates are going down. So it's a great time to get into the business and, start doing deals. There's a lot of money to be made in that. So being a loan officer is definitely a great move right now because rates are trending down. They're the lowest they've been in 4 years as of yesterday. So, definitely a great thing to get into. So again, if you want to get your mortgage license, go to newmlo.com and we can help you do that and bring you on the team. All right. We'll take one last question here. Tyler's asking, is social media necessary? I think it depends on your business. If you're transacting any business online, then I think it's necessary not just to get your business out there, but you need a verified profile, right? And I've talked about this a little bit, and I always want to mention it. You need your Facebook, your Instagram, and your Twitter verified, right? We're talking about $8 a month for Twitter, talking about $20 a month for Facebook and Instagram, to make sure that you have the blue check mark, that you're verified, that you're official. Because when people look up your business, they should be able to see those type of things. That makes them feel comfortable. Okay, this is a real business with a real person behind it. They're verified on Facebook, Instagram, X, these different platforms. It makes people feel better about doing business with you. So maybe you're not getting all your business from online, but if people are going to be looking you up online, you want to have a nice website. You want to have social media pages that are verified, so you have the blue check mark, so that everything looks good and it's giving your customers confidence in working with you. All right. With that being said, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Again, foundingwithoutfunding.com if you want to get the book that's going to help you grow and scale your business. If you would like someone else to handle that for you to start and grow your business, my team can do that for you at yourdigitalbusinesspartner.com. And if you want to be a loan officer and join our team, go to newmlo.com. You can get your license and come on board, and we can help train you as a loan officer so you can cash in on all this business that's about to come in as rates drop. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in.